Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
In this last minute before we get going, and there are seats up front here, folks, be brave, sit up close. There's no test afterwards. There is a sign-up list that's going around. It's somewhere out there in the audience. Just keep it circulating. We do need to have your name on there. This is an official legal proceeding, so you are part of it. And should there be close votes or anything like that, we want to make sure that the count is accurate. So, anyways, if you haven't signed it before the end of the night, please do so. I got 6 o'clock. So, welcome, Brookliners. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And by doing so, I'll read the preamble to the warning. The legal voters of the town of Brookline are hereby warned to meet in the multipurpose room of the former Brookline School Building in said town of Brookline on Monday, the 3rd of March at 6 p.m. to transact the following business from the floor. Before we get to Article 1, I would like to know where my Robert's Rules is. I would like to let you know that should there be decisions that need to be made of the parliamentary nature, we use Robert's Rules of Order, except where Vermont law differs from that, and there are a couple of places where it does. I would ask at this point if there are any non-voters in the audience, if you could stand up and identify yourself. I don't do this to embarrass anybody, but again, only residents, or only people on the checklist, only voters are able to speak at the meeting or vote unless in terms of speaking, you are able to speak to a point if the meeting allows you to do so. So, if I could just start right here and ask you to identify yourself.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Jack Vanderman. I am not a resident of Brookline, but I am here to speak on behalf of a social services line item budget line item, if appropriate. And it's the 7th. Talk about that as the night goes on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Yes.
My name is Brett Strasser. I live part-time at 60 Sunny Lane. I'm here to make sure my wife participates as a voter.
We applaud your efforts. And yes, Beckley. Great. Okay, we've got a lot of things to deal with here tonight. And what I'd like to do, our first article of business is to elect a moderator, and we can't do much until we do that. So after the election of a moderator, I'd like to go over a few things with you. Just a little time spent at the beginning of the meeting I think is helpful. It'll perhaps answer some questions as we go along. And once we get through that and a few reminders here, a few things I want to cue you in on that will be happening tonight, then we'll move down through the election of the rest of the town officers that are there in Article 2. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, Article 1. To elect a town moderator for a term of 1 year. So it would be appropriate to entertain nominations for that position at this point. Yes, Guy. Okay, David Parker has been nominated for the moderator position. Any other nominations? Hearing none, let's close the nominating process. All those in favor of electing David Parker as your town moderator for 2025, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Even my deaf ears can take it. So thank you again for your trust in doing this. A couple of things before we move on to Article 2. I did want to make you aware of. We talked about Robert's rules already. All motions and remarks and discussion, anything that you want to say, should be directed toward the moderator, to the moderator. Please, when you speak, stand up, say your name, and there is a microphone here that's available to you if you would really want to make sure that you're heard, and we'll make sure that somebody will run it out to you. After you've spoken on a particular article, you won't be recognized to speak again until everybody else who wants to speak has had a chance to, and then we'll circle back on that sort of thing. An article must be moved, seconded, and restated by the moderator before it's under consideration, and debate on that article may begin. You can amend articles twice, and there's a way to do more than that, but let's just start with 2 amendments to an article are possible. There may be times if we take a vote where the vote is close. If you thought my ears were bad last year, just wait till this year. Yeah, so sometimes it's hard on a voice vote or even raising your hand to see what's going on. So at some point, you may be asked to move around a little bit. Yes on one side of the room, no's on the other, that sort of thing. Just don't want you to be surprised. Debate is possible to call off or to end the discussion in a debate by calling the question. To do so, you have to be recognized by the moderator first, and you need a second for that. And it's not debatable. Somebody is recognized and they say, I want to call the question, and I will ask, is there a second to that? If somebody seconds that, then there's no debate, and we go right to a vote. Okay, so that may or may not happen tonight. I don't know, but if it does, I just want you to know how that works. State laws prohibit the consideration of articles that haven't been warned. So particularly in our last Article 14, the other business that we discussed will not be binding, anything that occurs there. So last year, we made a change in our rules. Robert's rules allows people, each individual person, to speak up to 10 minutes. That's a discretionary, to a certain extent, that's a discretionary number. I suggested last year that we change that and limit speech to 5 minutes per person. 5 minutes is a long time. I'd almost rather go with 2 and make exceptions, but 5 minutes I think is a nice combination. And what I'd like to do, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules of the meeting in order to make this change and to change Robert's rules from 10 minutes per speaker to 5 minutes. If you think this is something that has value, great. If there's any one of you objects to it, we can not do it. So I don't know. I would entertain a motion to limit speech during debate to 5 minutes. Yes. Okay. Sally Fegley has proposed a motion that we limit debate to 5 minutes per speaker. Is there a second to that? Guy Tanza has seconded that. Okay. Any discussion? Let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of limiting speech to 5 minutes during discussions, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Good. That's a 2/3 vote that we needed. Sounded like everybody to me. So 5 minutes it is. And I'm not going to be sitting here with a timer on you, anything like that, and cutting you off or anything like that. So my role as moderator up here is to get us through this meeting as quickly as we can, but also to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. Excuse me. There are going to be 4 articles tonight, at least 4 articles, that I know of. They're going to need to be amended from the floor. Okay, and for your score sheet, those would be Articles 4, 9, 11, and 13. So I want you to know what's going on. The Select Board will be offering amendments to 3 of those articles, Articles 4, 9, and 11. And those involve money amounts that had to be adjusted after the printing of the warning. Article 13 is a little bit different, and that's just because it's a collection of all the different agencies that are looking for money. So that is often amended. So there'll be 4 articles that I know of that will be making some changes in. So Articles 4 and 11 are related to the daycare center, which is leaving. I don't know if you all knew that. They are not renewing their lease here on the building. So the board only just found out about this recently, and they've had to make some changes. So that's why we're making some changes here tonight on 2 of the articles. That would be Articles 4 and Articles 11. Okay? Any more information at this point, you're going to go to sleep, and we don't want that. All right? So I would ask, be patient here tonight. We're not going to be here till midnight by any means, at least that I know of. Trust the process, and I would ask that you trust me to get you through the wilderness here and get to the end where we have a good town meeting and we do the business that we have to tonight. So, great. Let's go on to Article 2. And Article 2 is to elect all other town officers required by law. And Article 2A, the first one up, would be the town clerk for a term of 1 year. Yes, Dot.
I'd like to make Dot Maggio. I'd like to make a motion to have Marjorie Ray be our next town clerk for Brookline.
Other nominations. Marjorie Ray has been nominated. Other nominations? Hearing none, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of electing Marjorie Ray as your town clerk for a term of 1 year, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and we've got a new town clerk. Yay! Our next number on the hit parade is to elect a select board member for a term of 3 years. Nominations would be in order. Oh, come on, folks. 3 years? No. Well, I will say one thing. This is only one. This is a 5-member board. If you choose not to elect any select board members tonight, there are 2 seats that are up. You will have a 3-person board that will be serving in place of a 5-person board. And it requires then that all 3 voters, to get anything done, all 3 members of the board have to agree. not necessarily a healthy situation. So it's not like the board then becomes a 3-member board. No, they're a 5-member board that's operating with only 3 people. So just so you know that. Yes, Julia Duke.
Can you speak to whose terms are up? Whose terms are up?
Dot Maggio's term is up, and Stanley Noga's term is up. They are not returning to the board. Let's move down to the next. Oh.
Emily Beer, and it's public meeting, whether I should stand up. I don't know if you can nominate yourself, but I'm willing to do it. If anyone wants me. I'm a new resident to Brookline. I moved here this summer. I'm very excited to be here and have it be my home. I've never done anything like this before, so, but I'm willing to do it because I want to be here.
What's your name again?
I think that's wonderful.
I nominate Emily Beer.
What's your name, Dick?
Emily Beer. Spelling of the last name?
I'm having a
Rather well selected.
Now I know how Janet Jackson. No, I didn't want to take it off. I just, all of a sudden it drooped. Thank you.
Nominated by?
Wow, where were we? Emily Beers has been nominated. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much. Any other nominations? Hearing none, let's put it to,
Someone else do it. We have another select board.
we have another position.
There's plenty of room.
This is for the 3-year shot. Would you rather?
Is there a shorter one?
There's a 2-year position. The 2-year, okay, so we've. Too late. No, I think, we've never stood too overly formally on rules here in Brookline. So if you would rather do the 3rd position, I'm going to use my moderatorial discretion and move the 2-year position up in front of the 3-year position. How's that? All right. Emily Beer has been nominated for the 2-year select board position. Any other nominations? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor of Emily Beer for the 2-year select board post, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Welcome and thank you. You'll learn quickly. Now, after that brave foray into the woods, is there anybody who's interested in the 3-year select board seat? Could try it for a year. And then quit if you don't like it. Or you may be so wrapped up in it, you find you like it. All right.
Be brave.
If you're somebody who may be thinking about this and you leave the meeting tonight and you think about it a little more during next week, I know that if you sent an email or picked up the phone and made a call to a few of these people who will be on the board and asked if you could come and watch a meeting and try it out, see, I'm sure they would more than welcome you to do that. So that's always an option. All right, let's move down to Article 2D. There's a lister term for 3 years that is available. Nominations would be in order. Oh my. Julie.
I nominate Mr. Schmidt.
Alyssa Schmidt has been nominated for a 3-year Lister term. Is this something you would, I know you've been doing it, is this something that you would like to continue?
I can do 1 year?
Is there a 1 year?
Yes. Yes. The next line down.
Oh, okay. Then we'll wait on that. So you would pass on the 3-year nomination?
Whatever, whatever you want me to do.
No, I'd like to pay my property taxes. No, that's your decision to make. So if you can decline the nomination for that particular position, and nobody will throw darts at you or anything, so. Let's do that. You'll decline that position in favor of another. Anybody else interested in the 3-year? Again, you don't have to do the whole 3 years, but you can start doing something. Okay. We will leave that open. Next on the list would be a Lister term for 1 year, which is a remainder of a 3-year term. So you can see that somebody has indulged in that type of practice already. So nominations would be in order for the 1-year Lister term. Julie Livornia. I bet I know what you're going to say. Alyssa Schmidt has been nominated for a 1-year term as Lister. Any other nominations? Let's put it to a vote. All in favor of electing Alyssa Schmidt as your Lister for 1 year, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. And there you are for your next year. Thank you. Okay, a Lister position for 2 years, the remainder of a 3-year term. Nobody wants to be a Lister. All right. We'll leave that as open. How about a cemetery commissioner for 3 years, 5 years, Article 2G. Would anybody care to be a cemetery commissioner? Yes. Nominate who? I'm sorry. Oh, Dot Maggio. Anybody else? Nominations? Is this something, Dot, you are willing to do?
We'll continue.
Okay, great. All right, since there are no other names for nominations, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of electing Dot Maggio as your cemetery commissioner, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes. Pardon me?
Nominated Dot.
Danny did. Lazzarini.
Danny
Okay.
Another new resident.
Hey, that's not.
Okay, that takes us to Article 3. Shall the voters accept the auditor's report? Copy of which was in your town report. I would entertain a motion to that. To get discussion going on any of these, somebody has to make a motion to do something, so.
I so move. I so move.
Okay, Stan Noga is moving Article 3. In other words, that the voters will accept the auditor's report. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Bruce Mello. Any discussion about the auditor's report? No. All right, hearing no discussion, let's put it to a vote. The motion is, will the voters accept the auditor's report? All in favor of accepting the auditor's report, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and you have accepted the auditor's report. Okay, so here's the first, yes.
I would like to make a motion that we address Article 11 before Article 4, in light of the non-renewal of the lease for this particular building by the daycare center. I think it would be ordered, would allow the attendees tonight to get a better understanding of some of the amendments that are going to happen for the remainder of this meeting.
That was going to be my suggestion. So the first curveball of the evening, and this is possible to do it, there's a way to do it that is legitimate. What we'd like to do is to move Article 11 up in the order from where it sits right now, and to consider it before Article 4. Article 11 kind of triggers Article 4, triggers the changes that we're going to have to make in Article 4. So when the select board met a few days ago in trying to figure out how this could be revised based on the non-renewal of the lease, discussion came up, and it was my suggestion to move this up front. I think it would be easier to understand what's going on. So we need to vote on that. In order to do that, we would need a motion to suspend the rules of the meeting to allow us to consider an article out of order, to consider Article 11 before we do 4, knowing that after we deal with Article 11, we'll go right to 4. This would require a two-thirds vote, two-thirds of us. It's not debatable. So a motion has been made by Mr. Noga to start with, to move Article 11 up. We can't really debate it. We get to vote on it. If you're okay with moving Article 11 up to where it is, where we're asking you to, you would vote yes. If you don't want to move Article 11 and want to leave it where it is, then you would vote no. So is there a second to Mr. Noga's suggestion of moving Article 11 up in front of 4? Stuart? Stuart Duke seconds this. Then we'll go to a vote, and it requires a two-thirds majority. All those in favor of moving Article 11 up to be considered in front of Article 4, say aye. Aye. Those opposed to moving the article, say no. The ayes have it, and we will be moving Article 11 up in front of Article 4. So, Article 11, even though we need to make some changes in Article 11, I would need to read the article as it is stated in the warning, and somebody needs to move the article to get it out on the floor, okay, before we can make any changes to it. So Article 11 reads, shall the town establish a dedicated reserve fund to be called the Building Expense Fund, which can be used for capital improvements, maintenance, and repairs of all town buildings, specifically the daycare building, the Brookline Meeting House, the Round Schoolhouse, the Town Hall, and the town structures, by placing the non-tax revenue received from the lease of the former Brookline School as the funding source. So we would need a motion to move this.
I so move.
Okay, Mr. Noga has moved Article 11 as it's written, needs a second.
Second.
Bruce Mello has seconded Article 11. Now, there's going to be some discussion on this. And the board, yes, Mike?
I believe I am making a motion to table Article 11 now.
Okay. Here's
Is that right?
curveballs keep coming, you know? Yes. Excuse me, I've got dry mouth going on. At the wrong time. Yes. An article has been made, a motion has been made to lay Article 11 on the table. And there's a reason for this. Well, it's not my place to discuss the reason for this, but I'm going to refer to my notes here in a minute.
I can ready to speak to that when you're ready, Mr. Moderator.
I'm just checking on this. Okay, so the motion has been made to lay Article 11 on the table. Okay, and I'll get into explaining what that means in a minute. Is there a second for this? Guy Tanza has seconded the motion that's there. This is difficult because no debate is allowed under this question. Once the motion is made and it's seconded, it's not a debatable motion. Okay? I think it's important that you know what you're voting for in this case. Sort of intrinsic to the process. The motion basically that has been made would kill Article 11. Okay, would table it, would not be considered tonight. The reason for that is, since the daycare center did not renew their lease, there is no pool of money to set up this fund with. So Article 11 is based on a fund of money existing, but it doesn't exist now. Does that make sense? Do you understand how that is? So we don't know if there will be another renter at some point that allows Article 11 to go forward. Article 11 to go forward. So the effect of this motion would be to kill Article 11, would be to end that article. It's not to say that the new select board couldn't decide that, should a new renter appear, sign an agreement, set up a fund like this, have a special town meeting and vote it in. But right now, the money that they were asking for in number 11 doesn't exist. You can't vote on something that doesn't exist. So the motion is to lay this on the table, forget about Article 11, and we'll move on to Article 4, where some of this will come out in discussion as to what's going on here. Yes, Guy?
I move to move the motion to table Article 11.
Okay, that motion has been made.
And I second it.
You seconded it. Okay, then we're going to go to a vote. I've talked too much on this already. Pardon me?
You only get 5 minutes.
I know.
I'm going to use that on me. I know it.
All those in favor of laying Article 11 on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
No.
The ayes have it. So, Article 11 is done with, and we would move on to Article 4. Again, we're going to have a change here in Article 4 because of the change in Article 11, loss of revenue, the rent revenue. So, I will read Article 4. Shall the voters authorize general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $225,524, of which $175,727 shall be raised by taxes and $49,797 by non-tax revenues? I would entertain a motion. Yes.
I move to make a motion.
So,
So you're moving Article 4.
I'm moving Article 4. Yes.
Is there a second to Article 4? Doug Wellman has seconded Article 4 as is written. Discussion. Mike DeSocio.
I would like to make an amendment to
All right.
Article 4.
Mike is going to offer an amendment to Article 4
Shall the voters authorize general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $238,524, of which $208,727 shall be raised by taxes and $29,797 by non-tax revenues.
Is there a second for that? Seconded by Stan Noga. Discussion. I want to make sure you know what's going on here, so I'm going to. Pardon?
Yes, I'll repeat the amounts. I'd like to give a bit of an explanation and then give you the amounts again if I could. Is that okay?
Does that work, Dan?
Give the amounts first.
Okay, I'll give you the amounts again. Shall the voters authorize general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $238,524, of which $208,727 shall be raised by taxes, and $29,797 by non-tax revenues. I'd like to explain that if I may. So, if we think about, what I'd like to say is that in 2025, we budgeted and approved $450,000 in taxes for the highway fund and the general fund. $450,000. If all of the articles in this book were approved as you received them in the mail, if you said yes to everything that you got in the mail, the taxes raised would have been decreased from $450,000 to $440,000. So the path we were on was for taxes to go down for the whole town by a total of $10,000 if all the articles were approved. Then the daycare folks decided to not renew the lease. And the impact of that is that instead of taxes going down $10,000, they will need to go up approximately $6,000 or 1%. So we've gone from about a 2% decrease to a 1% increase, and we can no longer afford to put Article 11 and put $20,000 in a capital improvement fund. So now, if all of the articles in this book, plus amendments to those articles, are approved, then our taxes will go up a total in the town of $6,000. We were going to go down 10. If approved, we'll go up 6, and no capital improvement fund. So the rest is just adjusting the numbers on the journey to get from what the book said in the mail and where we're ending up now. Okay.
You're in the dark spot there with the light, so just stand up and.
So the total now raised by taxes would be $456,000?
There'll be, so there may be other amendments from the floor, but the ones we're planning on would put us at 455 and change. So we were at 450 last year, we'd be 455 and change this year, unless there's other amendments that I'm not yet anticipating.
But you're not going to find that math in their book.
The math in their book gets us to 440, because we were going from 450 to 440, and now tonight's adjustments take us up to 455. Because, and it's all because, almost all because of the daycare.
Let's see. Stuart Dew.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for that explanation. Can you just speak to how your amendment on Article 4 is impacted by the information that you just gave about the entire tax total?
That's the bulk of it. So what's happened is, basically, we were gonna take $20,000 of our taxes and put it over here. And that's kind of an expense as far as you're concerned. When we do that, that means there's fewer tax dollars to run the town, right? Putting it in a pot of money. So we've taken that pot off the table and absorbed another $15,000 of cost for the daycare. So we used to get $28,000 or so from the daycare center. And so now that's gone away, and now we have to heat the building. Now we have to pay for the light. So so that's the net change of us keeping this building.
Right, sorry.
If I could add something here, I know I'm kind of not supposed to, but if you look at the two figures, the $20,000 that was going to be taken from the rent, you can see the $20,000 difference in the non-tax revenues in the two figures that are presented. The difference in the total figure is $13,000, and that was determined what it would cost to take care of this building for a year with no renter. Got to keep the heat on, water's got to be, there's certain things that have to be done, and the cost was determined to be $13,000. I'm just trying to think of the easiest way to get to an understanding of why these numbers changed and where they changed. Yes, in the back.
So my name's Dave Roach, and my question is, when's the lease up? When's the daycare moving out?
June 30th.
Okay, so between the time frame between now and June, are you gonna put somewhere in the paper or wherever that this building's gonna be available? And if so, say someone agrees to lease this building again, does that mean you're gonna come back and readjust your budget again? And not raise taxes, but slide certain dollar value back over to the funding? Or was that not even considered before this meeting?
Bruce?
Okay. One second, I take that.
Yeah.
Doug, okay.
Yeah, so the lease, our fiscal year runs from the 1st of July, so the renters are going to be in here until the end of this fiscal year. So it wouldn't be possible to get anybody else in here immediately after that. So the way the funding should work on that, if we did get a renter within the next month or so, the budget's already going to be set. That money would go into the general fund and it would be refunded to the taxpayers. It'd end up being a surplus from what we planned on. And at next year's town meeting, you guys would decide what to do with that. If you wanted to get a rebate on it or apply it to the next year's budget.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Good question. Yes, can't see who you are.
Margaret Moore.
Thank you.
So the expenses that the town pays on this building, it's, what does that include? Is it the insurance? What does the daycare pay? Electricity, fuel? It's on. Rent?
Barbara? It includes everything. Includes the heat, electricity, insurance, maintenance, and we have a track record of what the building has been used before in terms of expenses, and we use that as a guideline. That's before myself and Mark, you're around here someplace, we try to do our magic and try to save the town even more money by how we approach mothballing a building. I'll say one other point, which I don't want to go on about because it's not germane to what you're saying, but I'll say in Article 14, I'm going to ask the town what they think in terms of what we should do with this building, and I'm going to make a proposal, an idea at that point. But I think I've answered your question, unless you want something in terms of specifics and dollars.
So I was wondering, not to subsidize the daycare, but could the rent be lower just because there's such a need for daycare in our area? For parents working from home or the hospital or the high school. You know, I feel like in order to grow a community, this is a service that kind of, so does the rent have to be that high in order for the town to make monies to maintain the building as well as pay the, the bottom line?
Okay, well, what I did, and you can all blame me, is we kept the same lease. I proposed to the select board of the increase, any increase that was to be made would be an inflation increase of 2.5%. So we proposed that.
That's gargling. Can
you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Basically, what I did, it was my idea in conjunction with, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now.
Okay. Then I proposed to the lease, to Susie's opinions in the lease, which the select board went along with, a modest 2.5% a year for inflation, because I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to come to the town and not have an increase at all, considering everybody knows how prices are going up. So they rejected it. I then made the proposal to the select board to drop it, go back to the original lease. The select board kind of liked my original idea, but they changed it. They eliminated the first year and made them, I guess it was a 2.5% per annum for the second and third year. They rejected it again, and it was the final straw. That's a quote from Susie.
Was that $750 increase?
It wasn't much.
$750 increase for the year.
And they rejected it. Just to give you a little bit more information really quickly.
Make it quick.
I will. Last year Stan met with two people of Susie's Little Penis, and they were complaining that there were $30,000 in the hole and they wanted a reduction in the lease. When Mike, myself, met with the two people from Susie's Little Penis in discussion of the lease, they flat out before they opened anything, we don't want an increase. So the rest you already know. We did a little bit, backed off, and they rejected it. That's basically it.
So just numbers-wise, the zero increase year one, and then it would have been $700 more for them in year two, and another $700 more for the year in year three. So those are the numbers, $1,400 over 2 years. My understanding is that the attendance in here is low, and I think that was probably overwhelmingly a driver of them leaving. They've got 24 kids. That's hard. That's a hard operation to run. I think I'm hearing they have a desire to be in a more robust location, and that was probably, they might have been on their way anyway, and then, but the $1,400 might have, certainly played into the decision. I can't imagine $1,400 drives them out.
I just made a clarifying point to that also. I think this speaks to your concerns too, Barbara. We, in addition to the modest increases that Bruce explained, we also sweetened the pot with about $8,000 in lighting improvements that would have saved the daycare center money, and we're going to do some plumbing improvements as well. So, in effect, their rent was going to go up a little bit in the out years, but they would have recouped all that cost with our investment in increased in improvements to the building.
I want to see if anybody else has any other questions. Guy?
I'd love to just add, I just received a letter today in the mail from the school with their formal saying that they were not going to renew the lease. And the biggest driver of them not renewing the lease is that the school district now is taking care of some children doing daycare services. They only have an attendance of 23 out of a possible 50. So when they were running full bore, they were able to pay the rent. But now with more than 50% of that capacity gone, even if we had dropped the rent, they still would not have been able to stay there.
I turned it off.
I'll speak. Can you hear me? One more small point. One more very small point. Also, they were having a hard time getting teachers. I've been watching this building for 11 years, and it was a revolving circle. They just couldn't keep people in place. It was even a comment by the director that they didn't even want to come off Route 30 in the winter to come down Old Flat Rising Brook Road and come to work. She was serious. So everything that you heard, plus that, was, in Susie's words, when we raised the lease that little bit was the final straw. So that's basically it.
Any other comments or questions that people? Yes.
Kathy Walden, has the select board considered, or are you able to consider this building any kind of commercial or industrial use where you command more rent?
Thank you.
Because of the recentness of this notification about the school lease, this board has not actually been able to sit down and conference thoroughly the possibilities of what we're going to do. So I appreciate that. Hopefully you will attend some select board meetings, follow our agendas. You can attend through hybrid Zoom to listen in. You can email suggestions. But right now, at this point, we just got the written notification today. It came in the mail. So technically today was the day we were notified. I was notified via email a week ago, but it's just become official today that their lease is not. So we don't have that plan established yet.
That'll be one of the fun things for the new select board. Focus on.
Thank you.
Any other things people would like to say? All right, so we have. Is that? Oh, Dan, I'm sorry.
Yes, Dan Towler. I was just wondering, are we prepared to vote now or voting now on the amendment? Or are we voting on the amended version of Article 4? Or what we?
We're voting on the amendment right now. And once we vote on the amendment, which is basically you want to amend these figures to what Mike gave us. Once we do that, then we'll plug those numbers into the original motion and we'll vote that. Kind of the way it works. And good question. All right, anything else that I may have missed here? All right, so we're voting on an amendment, and an amendment was made to Article 4, and I will read what the amendment said. The amendment asked to amend Article 4, and you have three sets of figures, a total number of, we would amend to $238,524, of which $208,727 shall be raised by taxes, and $29,797 by non-tax revenues. All in favor of amending Article 4 to this, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. So you have amended Article 4. Article 4 will now read that the voters will authorize general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $238,524, of which $208,727 shall be raised by taxes and $29,797 by non-tax revenues. All in favor of Article 4 as it's now written, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
any discussion?
I guess there is discussion of it. I don't know how it would differ from the discussion of the amendment, but
We're voting on the entire budget.
you're voting on general fund expenditures, not the entire budget.
Well, right. Well, yeah. Okay.
Okay, you're right. There can be discussion. I'm sorry. There should be discussion. So, discuss. Questions? Dan?
So the fine print, how these numbers were arrived at in the operating budget was on pages 9 and 10 here, booklet here, 9 and 10, yeah, 9 and 10. I would just like to draw attention to on page 10, the budget for recycling station, which is proposed budget for this year is $19,000. And as most of you probably recall, that number was voted on separately as a separate item, a separate article every year until now. And I personally think it should remain a separate line item in the vote. Because I think in the past there's been some debate about whether that's a logical thing for the town's taxpayers to spend $19,000 on. It hasn't always been clear cut. And so I think it's good to have that discussion here.
Good. Any of the select board would like to reply to that? Yes, Steph.
In reviewing over how we put the book together for town budget for these meetings, every single year, we have placed it as a separate warrant article. It was my suggestion to follow along with the 11 years of people voting yes, to absorb it into the budget because it appeared that the residents wanted the recycling center. So we did absorb it. For instance, last year, we put an amendment to allow us to appoint a treasurer when there are no people available to fill a Brookline seat. And so that is also because you voted part of our past practice, and we'll move forward. If there is a need if the residents feel that they would like to have a specific item added to a town meeting agenda, there is something called a voter-backed petition, in which you would gather resident signatures on a petition and present it to the board, and they would be obligated to put it on the agenda for the next town meeting. So that would be the choice. If you would like it to go back to a single article annual appropriations request specifically for recycling, you need to do a voter-backed petition. Okay, and offhand, I don't remember the percentage of people that have to be in a voter-backed position of 15% or some percent. Yeah. So, I think it's 5%.
Yeah, so we did talk about this at the board meetings, and Dot's reasoning is why we included it in the budget. But we are voting on the budget. You're correct, Dan, and that this could be, if so desired, someone from the floor could ask that be striked as an amendment, and then we would vote on that as well.
I think in the past, I think the audit committee too has made some comments that repeated items in the budget should be in the budget, and but you can still challenge any line item tonight that you want in the budget. Doesn't have to be a separate article. Could be, doesn't have to be. So that's my comments.
Dan?
So if I understand then, by suggesting that this be voted on separately tonight, that could happen or not?
You would not be able to vote on it separately tonight. You would be able to amend this article to remove the 19,000. But you can't create a new article tonight that would deal with that 19,000.
Just remove it and that's it.
Yeah.
So you could make an amendment that $19,000 be removed from the budget due to the, or, you know,
Recycling.
for the recycling program.
No, I'm not prepared to do that. Thanks.
I mean, that's the way to get discussion going on it if you want to do it. Think about it for a moment. I'm going to go to the person in the back with her hand up.
Hi, Win Hannon, but so there's getting, by proposing that, you're proposing a vote, basically.
Pardon me?
By proposing to strike it, it's a vote. Is it not then to probably second or to not?
We would be, if Dan chose to make an amendment to this, and I'm not sure, exactly which part of the budget, I haven't studied up on this, the phrasing of that. But if you wanted to remove $19,000 from the budget, to tie that to the recycling specifically, then we would vote on that amendment. Let's amend the budget, the line items here, the numbers we can work out, and the gates. So we would and then we would vote on that amendment, then we would go back to the original motion that I was reading to you.
So I'm just.
There would be a vote on this, so up or down, any amendment. So if you didn't like that idea, you vote no. And then we go back to the original. So in favor of the amendment, to remove the 19.
Closing the amendment.
The process is forward.
Do I need to have something right?
Depends how you want to phrase it. To me, I don't know if you want it, if you're tying it to the recycling collection line in the budget, right?
Doesn't want recycling, I'm not dealing with the question of recycling.
The amendment would be to remove whatever dollar amount you've got for recycling, $19,000.
So there'll be no recycling.
There would be no recycling, no money for recycling.
We would discuss whether to have it or not, right?
This would be in the discussion to the amendment, sure. I can't move dark here.
Yeah, but and I just want to say that these people work hard every year, they put it in the budget, and they don't,
Hang on with that. But
showing excellence in here and deciding on something from the rules, without knowing the rules, must be given time to do the 5 step. It's a waste of time for everybody's decision. It is, you watch the board meeting.
again, please direct your comments to me, not to me.
You vote, you can vote any of these people out. Then you can do this. That is what my opinion is, people work hard. And it's true that every year people vote yes, so it's like it's my comment to the group.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we're in the right place. It is your prerogative, at this point, whether you want to make the amendment or not. And then I would, if you do, however you want to regulate it, it would make sense. Then we can have a discussion of logistics on this subject. It's up to you.
Yes, sorry. So there would be room for discussion whether to keep this in or not.
Sure. That would be the point.
All right.
You would make the amendment, it's your idea, I'm throwing it out there, and that allows the group as a whole to entertain, right, and to discuss that, and provide a forum for a decision.
All right. Well, I'd like to close it.
All right? Yes, Dan.
Asking a question, it would seem to me if we remove it from the budget, we have no ability to create another article, correct?
Right.
Which means that there would be no recycling in Brookline if you take that out of the budget.
As of July 1, there would be no money in Brookline for recycling. But that's part of the discussion again, too. We're not there yet. Dan, give us your amendment, please.
Give them the microphone, so.
Yeah, could you pass that microphone? I'm really in the park.
Can I have someone hold this microphone around?
Thank you.
We need everyone to speak on the microphone. Nobody can hear you on the camera. I can't do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Run the microphone. Where I can take it. It wasn't really my intention to vote the recycling container up or down tonight, but it was my intention or my hope that we could remove it from the budget total so that we can discuss it as a separate item.
You can't do it.
If I'm out of order in suggesting that, then
We can't do that.
All right.
It's a new article.
Yeah, all right.
It becomes a new article at that point.
Okay.
We can talk about it all we want, but any action we take on it tonight won't be binding.
Okay. Well, I don't want to scare people that their container's going to go away by speaking any further on it then.
David, I'll take the microphone, Norm.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Even though I could use the other.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, so, no amendment. I think, it's still fair to discuss this even at this point. We're in the discussion of the numbers that were inserted by Mike in his amendment. We have adopted the amendment. We are at the point where we're discussing the main motion in Article 4, which is the new numbers. So, anything else anybody would like to say at this point on Article 4? Are you ready for a vote? Yes. Probably more than ready. All right. Would you like me to read those numbers again?
No.
I didn't think so, but okay. Let's see. I'm getting all my sheets mixed up here. Where am I? Sorry. All right. So Article 4. If you are voting yes on Article 4, you are voting in favor of the new numbers that were announced. If you vote no on Article 4, you're not in favor of those new numbers. All those in favor of Article 4, as I have stated, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and you've passed Article 4 based on the new numbers as reflected in the amendment. Article 5, okay. Shall the voters authorize highway fund expenditures of $364,300, of which $312,100 shall be raised by taxes, and $52,200 by non-tax revenues? A motion, please. Okay, Doc Maggio has moved Article 5 as written. Is there a second to that?
Seconded.
Second by Bruce Mello. Discussion? Questions? Things you'd like to say? Okay. Yes, period.
California, I think we're really should be grateful to the select board and to the town highway people for maintaining our roads. I'm sorry. We're maintaining our road to where they are. I mean, even today, Mark was out there pushing back the bank so people could park tonight. We're very lucky that these people and the select board put a lot of hours in. Sometimes their meetings are 10 o'clock when they get over. And if you really want to get involved and find out what's going on, go to the meetings or watch it on the Zoom. The Zoom. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Dan.
Thank you. Not to question the efficacy of the select board or anyone else. I just have a question about a couple of the numbers here where there's a significant.
Let him fly.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Where this, I have a question about there's a significant increase in a couple of the numbers, and I just wondered if anyone present could explain them. Winter contract services / equipment goes up 16,500. A couple lines further down from that,
page 11, sorry. Something called retreatment/lines, which I don't know what that means, but that went from 50 to 65,000. And then on the following page, there's a $9,000 increase in the summer highway material. So maybe just those increases are significant, someone could explain them.
Okay, so we've got 3 line items in particular that there's questioned of. First was contract services. Dan, am I right?
Yes, winter contracts.
Winter contract services. Second was retreatment/lines. And the third was the summer highway material. Is that- So, somebody from the board have some answers to those 3 questions, please.
I'd be delighted to answer. It's an expensive, one of the most expensive thing is to keep our roads going. The cost, we advertised for our snow plowing and removal, and the bid for, we received 1 bid, and the bid went up to $50,000. Yeah, it went up $16,000 this year over last year's cost. The second item, the retreatment of lines and such, that has to do with paving. When you hire a go out on bid to pave a certain amount of road, it was for a while about $100,000 per mile. It's gone up to about $160,000 per mile to pave. Retreatment of lines, again, crack sealing, if you're grinding down pavement, and we do have quite a bit of that has to get done. We didn't do any pavement. We've increased the amount that we have to put into the budget for the retreatment of lines, which is the paving, due to the costs that we would be charged to do that. So we're trying to build up some money in the account so that we can do a mile or 2 or 3 miles. It's much cheaper to have the company come in once because they have fees that they associate when they move those heavy equipment into town. It costs about $2,500 just to bring the equipment into town. So if they're going to bring it in and out and in and out, it's better to have the finances to do one batch. And the third one was
Summer highway material?
Material, again, that has to do with becoming more resilient. In the case of storms, we need to purchase the appropriate size culverts to do the work to keep the drainage, because as you know, road surfaces, the words are drainage, drainage, drainage. You have to make sure that you deal with the water, the forces of water when we have these storms during the summer. And so again, culverts that were $300-400 are now about $900. So the expenses have gone up quite a bit. And so it's the increase in the cost for plowing, the increase in the cost of the paving, the petroleum materials for the paving, and the increase in the getting supplies to do the summer culvert work and road improvements.
Cost of sand. The sanding was the other big.
Oh, sanding, okay, it not only was plowing, but also for purchasing sand. And we also have to pay for the salt that we mix with the sand. So it's a combination of those factors. It's all billable.
Yes, Pat?
And the culverts are getting required to be larger now too, right? Most of the culverts, what did you say?
The question was, culverts are required to
Bigger
be
size,
larger
bigger size culverts.
so new culverts are
Yeah. It went from 15-inch minimum to 18-inch minimum. We're just putting in culverts that are 4 feet, 3 feet, 36 inches, and they're very expensive. And when talking about a piece of culvert, they're 20 feet long. So if you have a stretch where you're putting a culvert in the road on a diagonal, you're looking at 3 lengths. So 60 feet times, each time, 20, each group of 20 feet, you're adding a whole new expense. It's not all horizontal stretched out.
Mark Bills probably knows a thing or two about this.
So on the summer materials, on the summer materials budget there, that includes all of the gravel materials that are put onto the roads throughout the year. The only thing in the winter highway materials is salt and sand. Anything else is considered a permanent upgrade. So anytime we're putting down materials, whether it's mud season, summertime, those are all summer highway materials. And the cost of that has jumped, a lot in the past 5 years. And the trucking to get it here is also a huge factor. So that all plays into the rise in then prices.
Okay, thank you.
Jesus?
Yes, Guy.
I just wanted to add to Dot's paving issue. The town also, when we save $150,000, the state will match us $150,000. So basically, any money that we put into the paving fund is, we put it in 3 or 4 years. When we reach that $150,000, the state will match it. So we're getting $300,000 worth of paving for $150,000.
Okay. Good, Gary.
Also make a note that we have our own excavator, and we have our own dump truck, which saves bringing an outside contractor in, and it's much more efficient. We have a guy who lives right in town, Mark, and he's right on top of things. I seen him put a culvert in by himself and keep the road open. He uses big steel plates. I've never seen that done before. So we're lucky to have him and all of our equipment.
Yay,
So let's vote on that good note. Any other comments that anybody would like to make before we do? Okay, then we will vote. The motion that we're voting on is the voters will authorize highway fund expenditures of $364,300, of which $312,100 shall be raised by taxes and $52,200 by non-tax revenues. All in favor of such, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and you have approved the highway budget. Article 6 reads, shall the voters authorize the collection of taxes in 4 installments with the due dates being August 12th, 2025, November 11th, 2025, February 10th, 2026, and May 12th, 2026. Gary.
Gary LaWarnia, so moved.
It's been moved. Is there Article 6, has been moved. Is there a second for that? Dot Maggio seconds it. Discussion. Cool. All right. All in favor of passing Article 6 as it's written in your booklet, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and we will continue with a 4-payment system as listed in Article 6, which you just passed. Article 7, shall the voters vote to have the current taxes collected by its town treasurer? Interesting question. By law, we have to have this in here, so. Yes, Gary LaVornia.
LaWarnia, so moved.
It's been moved. Article 7, is there a second for it?
Seconded.
Margie Wellman has seconded Article 7. Discussion. All right. Article 7 then asks you, the voters, to vote to have the current taxes collected by its town treasurer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. You've approved Article 7, and your taxes will be collected by the town treasurer. Article 8, shall the voters appropriate $2,500 to be placed in a dedicated account for the purpose of removing hazardous trees in the Austin Cemetery? A motion. It's been moved by Dot Maggio. A second for it?
Second.
Gary LaVornia has seconded Article 8. Discussion. Dot, as a cemetery commissioner, I bet you could tell us what's going on.
Well, actually, the cemetery called the Austin Cemetery, which is next to Indian Acres Farm, is not part of the cemetery's commissioner's realm of control. It is under the select board's control. It is one of the several private cemeteries or some of the ancient cemeteries here in town. There may be a need to increase the amount of space used for cemeteries in the future. If you go up in the Austin Cemetery a few years ago, Penny Massey had made a significant donation and we cleared off another half an acre of land in the Austin Cemetery. It has to get surveyed yet, but there are 2 or 3 giant dangerous trees that need to be tended to. It will be approximately $5,000 or so to trim those trees or remove the dead trees. And I will ask the board to put this on the agenda for half of it this year and then half of it next year, so that we would have approximately $5,000 to have an arborist go in and safely remove the trees. The problem is, because of the softness of the ground there, we can't bring equipment directly into the cemetery. It's going to have to be done with cranes from outside the cemetery. So that's why the expense of about $5,000 to maybe remove a couple of trees. But so this is half of the cost that's estimated at this time.
Yes, Paul.
I'm not used to these things, but speaking for some of the folks who may be lying in the cemetery, I'm rather old-fashioned. I would suggest we girdle those big miserable pine trees and let them die naturally and save $5,000.
I think a lot of it's dead already. It's just gonna fall.
It'll fall anyway, though, won't it fall if you girdle it? Sure.
I'm not an expert, but I'm old-fashioned like those that lie in the cemetery. Save $5,000 by girdling the tree and let it fall naturally. Wildlife will enjoy it as well. This is what foresters do. I don't know the situation. Are the trees going to fall on the stones? I don't know.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Donald Woodward, I think you just answered that question. Is the risk that the tree, when it does come down, is going to... Sorry, Donald Woodward. Is the risk that if the tree were to come down of its own volition, it would come down
It would
on
come
the
down
graves?
on some of those 1,700 tombstones, and yeah, they're right there. You can see one if you drive past on Grassy Brook Road, the one closest to the road. If that fell, it would probably destroy a good third of the cemetery.
It's a beautiful little cemetery. You should check it out if you haven't been up there. It's the one down by the bridge, by Papoose Lane. Anything else anybody would like to offer up? Okay. So Article 8 has been moved that the voters appropriate $2,500 to be placed in a dedicated account for the purpose of removing hazardous trees in the Austin Cemetery. And all in favor of doing such, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No, very strong no.
Okay? Very strong no. Despite the very strong no, I think the ayes have it. So you've passed Article 8. But it's an interesting question that the board may want to look at.
There may be other trees.
Okay, just when you thought we were rolling along and be out of here in half hour? No. Article 9 is one of those articles that we need to make a change to. It's not related to the daycare center and the lack of rent revenue. But I will let the select board tell you about that, but just buckle your seatbelt up. It's fine. It's just a substitution of a number for another number. So Article 9 reads, shall the voters authorize applying $46,500 in surplus funds against the tax burden to reduce the rate of general fund expenditures as shown in Article 4, which we modified, remember, Article 4. Okay? Need a motion?
So moved.
Dot Maggio has moved this in a second.
Seconded.
Bruce Mello, second, Article 9. A discussion. Mike DeSocio has some answers for us.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to propose a motion to modify Article 9.
Okay, so an amendment to Article
Amendment.
9 is going to be offered.
Yes, it would say, shall the voters authorize applying 43,511 surplus funds against the tax burden to reduce the rate of the general fund expenditures as shown in Article 4.
Okay, so the amendment substitutes a new number for the old number, the new number being $43,511 in surplus funds. Is there a second for this amendment?
Seconded.
Bruce Mello has seconded this, and a discussion ensues. Mike DeSocio, can you inform us as to why this number needs to change?
Yes, so we had a surplus in 2024, and so we're proposing to take that surplus and offset the tax expense in the 26 budget. At the time we did the warrant, that surplus was, the financials were not complete. All adjustments went in, and we estimated that number to be 46.5. When it was finalized, it was 43,511. So therefore, we have 43,511 to use as an offset against our 26 tax base and not 46.5.
Okay. Questions? Yeah. All right. That's good. I think we all appreciate that, as long as we understand. So the amendment has been made to change the amount as shown in Article 9. The amendment says that we should change the amount from $46,500 to $43,511. All in favor of amending the motion to read that way, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Okay. I will now read Article 9 with a new amount of money installed. So Article 9 will now read, the voters will authorize applying $43,511 in surplus funds against the tax burden to reduce the rate of general fund expenditures as shown in Article 4. All in favor of passing the motion as I've just read it, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Okay, you passed Article 9. Thank you. Article 10. Shall the voters authorize applying $35,000 of highway funds raised by taxation for 2021 flood expenses for contracted services and flood materials? See page 13 of the 2023 town report. Be applied to reduce the highway fund amount shown in Article 5. Motion.
So moved.
It's been moved by Dot Maggio. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Bruce Mello. Discussion may happen on Article 10. Something you would like to say, Dot?
If you recall, back in 2023, we were dealing with the storm, the storm,
July 10th?
yeah, it's on, okay. The storm in July of that year, and I asked the board the following year for additional monies because we were not getting quick reimbursements. So for a total of $70,000. This board has been able to recoup most of the money from the storm, and so this year we're returning half of it, $35,000, and next year we intend to return the other half of it for a total reimbursement of the $70,000 that we increased taxes back 2 years ago for 3 years ago for that 2 years ago for that storm. So that's where the money is from.
Yes.
Oh, with the ship, I'm sorry. Again, just, where's the thingy? Again, just sort of a question. Did the select board consider leaving that in a rainy day fund? And the reason why I bring this up is that given the way life is in Washington and perhaps questions around future money that might come from FEMA for when the next big one comes, having something that in reserve when there might not be FEMA money.
If you don't mind. We have not heard what the education tax rate is going to be on the residents here in Brookline. We don't know, but we know they're going to be significant. And we felt that this was a way to help to lessen that. That might be a consideration for the second $35,000 the following year, but we do not know. And so we thought that this was the most prudent way to reflect to the citizens that we asked for a specific loan and we're repaying that loan.
Stan?
Yeah, you may recall that when we had that discussion here, there ended up two groups. One was, I think, 4 more over this side and 4 less, I see, on that side. And I don't believe there was a person that said they did not want the money coming back. The question, the dividing point was, did you want to have the select board put it in writing for you or take our word for it? So the majority of people that showed up at that meeting wanted the money back. And so from my perspective as a voting member of the select board, that's where I was coming from. You asked for it, we're doing it.
See you. Yeah, and just to add that a little bit, we did get the strong feeling that the voters wanted that back. The total amount of $70,000, we beat that around a little bit and discussed whether we wanted to give it all back this year. And, my suggestion that the board went along with was that we split that up. And the reasoning was that we didn't want to drop the taxes drastically this year than to have them go back by $70,000 or $100,000 next year. We split it up to try to stabilize the tax rate over, last year, this year, and next year. So, we can keep it about the same by splitting that up.
Okay. Other questions about Article 10? Okay, let's put it to a vote then. All in favor of accepting Article 10 as it's written, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. You've accepted, passed Article 10 as written in your book. If you'll remember, Article 11 is gone. That brings us to Article 12. Shall the voters allow individuals who are residents of the state, but not residents of the town, to be elected or appointed to all town offices except the Select Board and Justices of the Peace, as provided in 17 VSA 264A A1, which basically says that you can do this except for the Select Board and the Justices of the Peace. So, no chicanery here. A motion.
I so move.
It's been moved and a second.
Second.
Bruce Mello, the seconder, has seconded. More than the second time. Discussion about this. Questions? Yes, Sally.
I wondered why.
The why question is a very good question.
Okay, last year we had to, ask the residents to authorize us to appoint an out-of-town treasurer. And we did not know this year, we knew that Guy was going to be retiring, and we were finding it difficult to find someone who would manage the town office as a town clerk. So at the time of the printing, we wanted to make sure that if we had to hire someone to be our town clerk, we could do so. Otherwise, we would have no one to run the town office. And so this item, number 12, allows us to appoint someone, at least temporarily, to a position when there was no one who would stand up to be elected. Can't have a town without a town clerk.
No, and just a point of, our current treasurer is a resident of Newfane. So there is precedent for this. When we advertise open select board seats, there are no hands that go up. And for some of these positions, they need to be filled. So that's the reason that outreach is
happened. And,
David?
yes, Guy.
I'd like to make I'd like to answer that. I feel that if we vote for this in the affirmative, we're going to lose a little bit of local control in our town. I think it's important that a town clerk, a treasurer, or anyone who serves our town is from our town, who understands our town, who understands the rhythm of our town and its people. So I just find it a little premature to say, let's appoint someone. I think that sooner or later, people do step up. And in the event that someone doesn't step up, the town clerk, the select board has the right to appoint someone from the town. So I'm not on board with having the select board saying that they could appoint someone from anywhere, because I just don't feel comfortable with that. I've been a town clerk for 14 years. I've known most of you people, and we all know that local control is kind of important, and that's my feeling about it. So I'm not in favor of this particular article.
Yes?
Would this article just be for this year, or would it be ongoing? Yeah, ongoing. Ongoing.
Yes, Julie.
Does this mean we lose our treasurer, does this mean that we would lose Melissa as our treasurer?
We don't want that.
No, we already voted on it.
And Helen Holt, our lister.
So the way the state statute reads on this is that this is a statute that can be employed. It's not some strange thing. This does happen frequently around the state. But it also specifies in a subsection of it that the board tell you what position it is that they intend to fill this way. So when this article was written, it was the town clerk position that they were thinking of. Okay, at this point, the way it's written, it covers anything else, but there was the thought in mind that it pertained particularly to one position. Since Marjorie came forward in that interim between when this was made up and she made her decision to run for town clerk, which is wonderful. And your question?
My question was, are we going to lose our treasurer?
No, they said no, that she was hired under a separate, appointed under a separate agreement, so that would not cover her at this point. But anything else anybody would like to say or offer? Sally?
I would like to amend the article to say only in cases where Brookline residents are not available.
That's the same thing.
Show the voters or? To the elected appointed to host the only when Brookline people are not available. So you would like to add that basically to what's written?
Yes.
And tag that. Is there a specific place you would like to add it?
Doesn't that, how about at the very beginning?
It says they're not residents, they can be elected if they're not residents, doesn't that basically just?
It says they can be elected, but it puts a stipulation on there that there has to be a position that you want to fill that a Brookline person can. It's somewhat implicit in the motion that's there, I think, but this specifies it a little bit more. It may be redundant, but Mike?
There's kind of a third category here, because you've got residents, you've got non-residents, you got people that aren't from the town, then you got people like me I thought of myself as from the town because I was a weekender or a back and forther, and I wasn't officially yet a resident, but yet I had a pretty good flavor for the town. So that's kind of a in-between category that until now can't necessarily.
But this specifically says you have to be a resident of the state of Vermont. You can't be a Massachusetts resident who owns a house here and decide you want to be treasurer. I don't think they would like us down there either, making decisions in Massachusetts. Yes, Emily?
I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. So it seems that there's no present need for this now because the clerk position has been filled. So this is and if we, in the future, needed to do this, we could have a special meeting of the select board and we could vote on it then, is that right? Or next year if there's another vacancy?
Stanley?
Yes, I think we don't want to lose sight of the fact that the select board, by virtue of there being listed positions that we did fill, Lister, for example, this opens up the ability to fill that position if need be. Helen Holt is a Lister in Townsend. I don't know how long she's going to continue serving Brookline. And then that would leave Alyssa all alone. It's not an easy job.
So we currently have a lister who lives in Townsend.
Yeah.
And yet is listed.
You're allowed to
Yeah,
do
so
that.
and it is legal. The board has looked at that. So I think the select board, any that I've been on over the years, always looks to have a local citizen, a resident of this town, fill the position. Unfortunately, today's a busier world than it was 100 years ago, when the laws probably were written. So there's a need we're small, we only have 500 and some odd people. It's hard to fill positions. So this just gives the select board an ability to hire people, because nobody in town is interested, to provide the services that you deserve and that you need, and that the town needs. So it's giving just flexibility. I don't think we intend on hiring people outside of town first. I think your suggestion makes it more definitive in that regard. I agree with doing what you suggest as one person on the board, but it's a decision to be made tonight by others.
So Sally, do you want to stick with your amendment?
Yours.
That's where we are right now. Is there a second for that amendment? No, Paul Dutton has seconded that. All right, so discussion of that. Anybody want to say anything that they haven't said about? Yes, that's Charlie Pecker.
Do we want to make it a step process and where we look at Brookline first and then we look at towns bordering Brookline and then finally to the county level and then to the state level, and have that step process so that everybody sees that we're making an attempt to keep it local?
That's basically what we do now.
Okay, but it's
kind
not,
of what we
right?
do
It
now,
sounds like it's not, but that's.
Through the course of any week, any day, you get many things that come at you. And I would hope that you trust us to do the right thing in that regard without adding to the step process that we already have multiple steps to make in other areas. Just, it's.
I'm just trying to keep the ball going down the field, Stan.
Yeah, I realize that, but, there are so many things that require steps, so many things that come at you, so many seminars that you can put up with and deal with, to attend. I mean, you're welcome, we got a 3-year seat here as a select board member if you're interested.
I got 4 kids,
But,
Stan.
we got a lot to go. We got a lot to go, and I don't think that step's really necessary, frankly. If you don't trust us, I don't know what to say.
Okay, anything else anybody would like to say at this point? And let's go, we're going to vote on the amendment. And an amendment has been offered that would change Article 12, and please correct me, Sally, if you don't like what I say, if it's not what you intended. Article 12 would now, the amendment would be that we allow individuals who are residents of the state, but not residents of the town, to be elected or appointed to all town offices, except the Select Board and Justices of the Peace, as provided in 17 VSA 264A1, should no Brookline residents be available. Okay? Great. All in favor of amending the article, of that amendment, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no.
No.
Okay? The ayes have it. You have amended, you have approved the amendment. So I'm going to go back and push that into Article 12. What you're voting on now, the voters will allow individuals who are residents of the state but not residents of the town to be elected or appointed to all town offices except the Select Board and Justices of the Peace as provided for in 17 VSA 264A, A1, comma, should no Brookline residents be available. All in favor of Article 12, as I read it, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
No, no.
The ayes have it, and you have passed Article 12. Okay, we're getting there, guys. And I appreciate your patience. I know it's hot and it's late. Article 13 reads, shall the voters appropriate $11,896 to be raised by taxes in support of the following organizations? You're all readers, I presume. I'm not going to read the entire list. I did tell you that the board was going to offer an amendment to this, but that will come after I have read the article. And we need a motion to start that. So Doug Wellman has moved Article 13 as it's written. Is there a second for that? Seconded. It's been seconded by Bruce Mello. So, board members, you said you had, as part of our discussion of this article, you had an explanation as to why you wanted to change this, and if you could share that with us, that would be great.
I'd like to have that article amended by reducing the appropriation requests from the sum total of $11,896 to $9,806 with two modifications. Modification 1 would be to remove the request for the appropriation from the Dartmouth Visiting Nurse Hospice Program for $1,000, as we received notifications from them that they will no longer be offering any services to the residents of Brookline and therefore have removed their request for the $1,000 appropriation. The second part of the reduction of $2,090 from Article 13 is to reduce the requested appropriation from SEVEDS, which is present in the room this evening, from $1,590 back down to $500, as we have done in the past, so that the total appropriation requested would be $9,806, again, $2,090 less than what's in your book.
Okay. Everybody understand that? Okay. So you're offering an amendment that would reduce that bottom line of $11,896 to $9,806. With the two changes being those that Dot noted. $1,000 from Dartmouth, they have removed that. And the SVEDS, $1,590 down to $500. Is there a second for this amendment?
Second.
Guy Tanza has seconded this. Okay, discussion. What are your druthers? Yes.
Kathy Walden again. Would the residents want to discuss or consider the use of at least some portion of that $1,000 that was allocated for a visiting nurse to our LNG Ed Foundation? I noticed that we're able to provide them with $250, I believe.
Less than any appropriation.
Okay. So I'm not like real familiar with how they would go about that process, but the schools are very, very important to our community. So I'd like to suggest that there's some way to consider increasing that amount if possible.
Okay. Do you want to offer that as an amendment, or? You can amend the amendment.
Okay, so,
If you wanted to take another $1,000 off, I'm not sure you can specify where that has to go though. I don't.
or is that something more appropriately
I'm not sure you
discussed?
can direct the select board to push that money into a different area.
Okay.
You could ask them to restore $1,000 to the budget.
There are the binders, right on that little table, there are binders with all of the appropriation requests. There's a procedure for making requests, and we're sort of lenient with the time frame. And again, the visiting nurses said that they don't need the money. We would refund the money if we didn't amend this. They were going to return it to our treasury by a check. If we sent them a check, they were going to return it. I don't know if we can add another article or modify the article in that way. It's up to you, Mr. Moderator.
It tells me that everybody's sensitive to tax burdens
Right.
right now, this time of year.
Well, I guess, no, I don't want to introduce any kind of amendment at this point.
Okay.
But again, just something for us to consider going forward.
Okay. It sounds, in this case, it sounds like the organization that you would like to give the money to had gotten in touch and said, we don't need it this year. At least that's what I took from the conversation.
That has to be a request from the association.
L&G did not ask for anything last year or the year before.
Okay, anything else, anybody else would like to say? So we're talking about the amended amount right now.
Raise your hands.
Yes.
I can talk about some of the board and Mr. Moderator.
Sure. Well, there's somebody here from Speds, and they have asked for $1,590, and the amendment asks to lower that amount by $1,000, $1,090. So it's up to you guys whether you would like to hear from the person from Speds to explain probably what they do and where that charge comes from. And so if you would like to hear from this person, who I would also add has taken time out of his evening to come talk to you should you have questions, say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, say no. Okay, it requires a 2/3 vote. You've allowed our visitor to speak, so please do, and welcome.
Well, thank you, everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Jack Spanierman, and I'm here on behalf of SEVEDS, which is a mouthful, and that's why we abbreviate it. You'll understand why. It stands for Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies. And we are a legal affiliate of Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, which you may have heard of. Both are nonprofits, but the Southeastern Economic Development Strategies really is the economic development think tank, if you will, of Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, who has staff that actually carry out and implement the economic development strategies that SEVEDS thinks of. And so the number that is all in your town report is not out of thin air. It is, we ask each of our 27 towns within our service area, we are a regional development corporation, one of 12 in the state. We ask that all towns under our purview contribute $3 per resident. And so that's where that number comes from. And I understand that for the, I think, past 2 fiscal years, there's been a motion to reduce that to 500. So I'm just here to answer any questions that anyone has about what it is we do and just explain a little bit more about that and where that money goes. So that, like I mentioned before, we are a nonprofit, so we are grant funded. And as many of you may know in this room, when you are grant funded, there are many times strings attached to what you can do with that money. And so municipal funding allows us to kind of diversify what we can do and be a little bit more flexible. And we talked a little bit about the flooding a couple of years ago. A good example of what we can do with this money is be flexible. And I was actually kind of the boots on the ground, going to Weston, going to Londonderry, places in Jamaica, make really just kind of making sure folks knew about resources that were available to them and all that kind of stuff. So that's just an example of what that flexibility can do for us, as well as a match for a lot of our grant funders. So all the money that we raise through municipalities is matched, and we leverage those dollars. We've actually, in FY24, we were able to leverage or bring $7.5 million to the Windham region. So that's the 27 towns in the Windham region. It's Windham County plus a couple towns. So that is really my piece. So I'm here if anyone has any questions. And I appreciate everyone's time. I also appreciate, I know money is tight, and so it's all right if that amount is reduced to 500. We appreciate any contribution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time coming to speak to us. Any questions for our visitors? Yes.
What exactly do you do as an economic development? Like specifically, what kind of board?
Oh, sorry.
So, yes, it's a great question. So we're very diverse, actually. So we have a business team that offers business services such as succession planning. We're also a lender. We're a small business lender. Many times when small entrepreneurs or businesses of any size are what we call I'm blanking on the name. When they have no access to funds elsewhere at a traditional bank, they can come to us. I know of, just for privacy reasons, I won't name the name, but I do know of one person off the top of my head from Brookline that is receiving business services from us. So that's just one piece. That's actually not the world that I live in. I work in workforce development. So I run workforce programs, curriculum design for workforce programs such as Pipelines and Pathways, which you may have heard of. Anyone in the room that's connected to Leland and Gray, they're kind of our poster child for our career ed program that we run in that local high schools. So we do soft skill development, job readiness stuff with a lot of the kiddos, and Leland and Gray's been an amazing partner. So that's a little bit more about what we do, and we also run a program called the Southern Vermont Economy Project, and my colleague Meg, who I know a lot of the select board may know, she works a lot with municipalities, working with them to create more capacity for just local governance and running programs more like kind of government education programs on how to get involved in in local governments. We had a program called Get on Board, which was about folks interested in learning more about getting on a board of some kind. And we actually have another one coming down the pipeline about for folks that are already in municipalities and local government, and how to actually just create more capacity in their roles as they are now. So I hope that answers a little bit more. Yes.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, we're voting on an amended amount now. In Article 13, the amendment has been offered that we reduce the figure that you see in the booklet from $11,896 to be raised by taxes down to $9,806 as a result of the missing Dartmouth money and the reduction of Sevitz by $1,090. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it. So we're going to take that back to the original Article 13. Article 13 now will read, the voters will appropriate $9,806 to be raised by taxes in support of the following organizations. And they are down below. All in favor of such, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Excellent. You've passed Article 13 with a slight change. Good, guys. Made it through the meat of the entire thing here. This brings us up to Article 14, which reads, "Other business discussion, which shall not be used for taking binding municipal action, and the moderator shall so rule." All right, I do. Nothing we do under this article is binding, meaning that nobody's committed to doing anything by any of the discussion that we have under this article. Before we get into this, I will share with you, there's a resident here in town whom I have a great deal of respect for, who at the end of town meeting every year, I get an email from this person. They ask me how I think things went. Sometimes this person is in attendance, sometimes they're not. So we have an electronic conversation back and forth about how town meeting goes. And it's good for me to get a little feedback if this person has been in the audience. And it's always welcome. And this is somebody I respect. And last year, after town meeting, they made a suggestion that really resonated with me. Said, by the time we get to Article 14, everybody's been sitting there in a chair for a damn long time. In this case, it's hot in here tonight. He said, it would be really nice if people from the audience had the opportunity to voice opinions before anybody on the select board got on a soapbox and pushed. It does happen occasionally. And when I heard this, I thought to myself, that's a great suggestion, because town meeting is not a select board meeting. It's not a place for the select board to be preaching to you. You own this meeting. You are the voters. And you are welcome to speak to the select board after you're recognized, to ask them a question about anything, and they will answer that. But what I would like to do is have the select board answer any questions as concisely as you can, to allow everybody in the audience to get a question. Who wants to ask one? To get a question in before we start getting political. Pushing our favorite project or whatever, okay? And I don't say that to diss anybody, but when I heard this, I thought, this is a really good suggestion. So I'm offering this as a possibility, a way we deal with Article 14 here, other business. As I said, nothing is binding. So I'm going to throw it out to the audience. If you have questions or things you would like to say to the select board, please do so. Yes, Kerry Lavorne.
I want to thank the select board for dedicating the town report to Sunny Rink. A long-time resident of this community and was on the forest fire warden for many years, and he was on the select board at one time, and a real great guy, and the whole family's great, really. And also thank Gwen and Guy for the many years that they spent extra hours doing things for the town. They're there a lot of times when they don't have to be, and they've gone above and beyond what they were supposed to do. So give a hand for Gwen and
Man, this is supposed to be when you're...
And I'm going to break my own rule.
I just wanted to say that we have there is in process coming to you, Guy, a proclamation from the governor's office. Thank you for your service. And it will say that in recognition of over 14 years of outstanding service as town clerk, the residents of Brookline extend the sincere gratitude for a job well done. Mr. Tanza was instrumental in revitalizing the town clerk role, and all who reach out to Guy with a request or an inquiry found a welcoming, knowledgeable, and effective town resource. Guy leaves a legacy of common sense, pragmatic approach mixed with a dose of jocularity as a way of getting things done and building strong relationships. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Took me 81 years for someone to say something nice about me.
Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a cash award. Thank you. Yes, Julie?
I would just like to encourage everyone to join I'd like to encourage anyone who isn't already on our Brookline email list to sign up to be on our list. I've put the clipboard over there. We have 186 people on it at the moment. It would be great to have more. There's nothing political on it. There's nothing commercial on it. It's only notices from the town, issues of interest to the town people, lost dogs, found dogs.
It was Front Porch Forum before there was Front Porch Forum.
Yes, that's right, absolutely. So please do sign up. It's a great way to keep informed.
And I should have announced that at the very beginning of the meeting, because the sign-up sheet is right down here. I'm going to say one other thing while I think of it. If you were an official who was elected tonight, before you leave, please see Guy, because as one of his last acts, he will be getting you to sign your paper acknowledging the fact that you now hold a town office that you were elected to. So don't leave without seeing Guy. All right. Anybody else out there? Dan Howland, yes. And then who am I back there? You're next after me.
I just have a quick question. I didn't notice anywhere in the report where it says anything about the photo on the front. Who are we looking at, and when is that taken, and where'd it come from?
I met with Kim Rink to talk to him about putting this report in his father's, dedicating the report to his father. And he brought over to me several photographs that I took pictures with my cell phone. And this is a picture of, you see, Sonny Rink is up on the hay wagon.
No way.
That's him up on the hay wagon by his house. So that is Sonny way back when he was much younger. And
Teenager. He's young here.
yep, he was a teenager probably. So that's what that is. Maybe we should have said that. You're right, but that is up at the Rinks farm.
Okay, clarification made. Yes, on the way back.
Hi. I'm Amy Blase. I am. Okay, Hi. I'm Amy Blase. I wanted to acknowledge that across the state there are several ballot measures in various towns. Newfane and Brattleboro both have one. Thetford has already passed theirs, and it was too late for me to put it into an article for this town meeting. But I'm also very scared of public speaking, but this is very important to me, so I wanted to just read out the ballot measure that is in a bunch of other towns statewide, which is that it's from apartheid-free communities. We affirm our commitment to freedom, justice, and equality for the Palestinian people and all people. And we oppose all forms of racism, bigotry, discrimination, oppression, and we declare ourselves an apartheid-free community, and to that end, we pledge to join others in working to end all support to Israel's apartheid regime, settler colonialism, and military occupation. I just wanted to acknowledge that this is being voted on in other places and to read it out so that people know about it. And I'm going to sit down now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Secretary Bourne? Yes.
Like Paul, I'm not used to this either. I've written what I have to say down so that I get it out right. Bruce, thank you for the obvious good intentions and devotion to the town. It shows in many ways. This is more directed at the Brookline Meeting House, which I used to be a part of.
Can't hear you.
This is directed at the
support of the Brookline Meeting House, which I used to be part of the committee. Our church, which is on the National Historic Register and notably a structure that has had not been altered much and has significant original features that should be preserved. When I read your building commission report and the document you produced called the plan for renovation work on the meeting house, I didn't get the sense of expertise or respect for historic preservation that is needed. Your timelines and method of this work reflect this. The building does what we ask it to do presently and has for almost 2 centuries. One can go in, turn on the lights or heat or cook, wash up, hold meetings, events, etc. as it stands. We as a town are not ready to engage in an expensive, weakly conceived, feature-robbing so-called upgrade. A sequence of tasks was carefully prioritized by the former BMH committee, collaborated with the select board, and should be followed. I urge the townspeople not to support this underfunded, historically sensitive suggestion of reconstruction. Thank you.
Okay. I heard what you said. Sorry. Everything that I've considered has been done in consult with Vermont Historic Preservation and Preservation Trust. I just spoke to them in the last 2 weeks, both of them. Everything that would be done with the building would be done in consult with the town and with consult with them. It was apparent to me when the survey came out several years ago that I felt was pretty obvious that this town wants to use that vestry year-round. And it's my ambition to pursue that unless the town doesn't want it. Now, as far as this part about the money, that's going to be worked out. No one's going to, let's put it this way, there hasn't been one tax dollar, direct tax dollar, that has been spent on that building or this building, ever. One can make a dispute about ARPA money being used on the heat pumps in here, but there's never been any tax dollar spent on one of those buildings. And I'm in favor of that. I'm also in favor of any historic structures that are in the town, whether it be around schoolhouse, whether it be these 2 buildings, which has a school that was 1927, or the Stone Arch Bridge, be preserved. That's my stand. Not necessarily the select board stand. That's my stand. So in saying that, I plan on going to a grant writing session on the 13th of this month for it escapes me. Anyway, it's a state agency, to see if we can get funding to do things for the building, which is going to be presented to Vermont Arts Council, which is going to be presented to the current advisory committee. So that's the steps that I go for. And the whole idea with all of this is what the town wants, affordability, and keeping it historically the way it should be. So that's my answer to that. Can I continue with other things? Or is there other things?
Let's just see if there's anybody else in the audience want to offer anything at this point? Stuart Duke, please.
Hi, Stuart Duke. My wife Julie and I are not longtime residents of the town, but we've lived here long enough to know that this town runs largely on Dot Maggio, who is, if I'm correct, and her separation anxiety has not gotten the better of her, is stepping away from her role as chair of this select board. And I think we should acknowledge the absolutely outstanding leadership and service that she has provided and will continue to provide to this town. And on a personal note, we're so grateful that our dog has probably spent as many nights at her house as she has at ours. But for myself and Julie, and I hope for this town, thank you, Doc, for everything you've done.
Thank you all. Thank you all. It was very, very nice.
Oh, no.
Guess what I have? Another proclamation in process, you know, and I would echo everything you've said. I learned so much from Dottie last year, and mostly, number one, patience and facilitation. And thank you so much for those lessons. But a proclamation from the governor's office is coming, and it says, in recognition of Dot's 9+ years of dedicated service to the town of Brookline as select board member and chair, health officer, emergency management coordinator, animal control officer, hazard mitigation planning, and multiple other roles. I know I've missed some. The people of Brookline extend their sincere gratitude for your dedicated service to our community. Dot's legacy will include bringing reason to difficult situations, exhibiting the patience of a school teacher, and facilitating things and getting things done when there is no one else around to do them. Dot guided town business in a way that recognized the diversity and needs of the community of Brookline. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I just have one thing to say. Emily, in 2014, I came to my first select town meeting, and there was just one person left on the board. They were looking for 4 people, so I nominated myself that night as well. And it's something that I am ever so grateful, because I've learned a lot, and I worry a lot, but things can get done. And if anybody needs help, if you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out, because I'm still right down the block. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, no, we got no more? Oh, my God. Must be one.
You indulge me one more. You know, we are losing really 3 people tonight who have given tremendous things to town, tremendous experience, skill, knowledge, and I'm a little concerned, but we'll power through. But the last but not least, to Stan, who is coming off of the board tonight, we might be able to talk him into doing some things and that continue to help us along the way in a less official way. But for Stan, we also have a proclamation coming from the governor's office that reads, in recognition of many years of service to the town of Brookline, including select board member and assistant chair, as a town agent, justice of the peace, grants and contracts administration, planning committee chair, hazard mitigation planning, ladies benevolent society, FEMA lead, lister, and multiple other roles, the town people offer their sincere gratitude for your dedicated service. Most recently, Stan tirelessly pursued grants and FEMA reimbursements to assist the town recover from recent natural disasters and saving the town multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thank you, Stan.
Anybody else? Yes.
I'll keep it short too. Timothy Carr is my name. I'm a current member of the Brookline Meeting House Advisory Committee, and we are currently planning a few things, and if anyone would like to help us plan these events, the flower sale, the town-wide picnic, we hope to have some music in May, or if you have any other ideas that you would like to do at the meeting house, we have a sign-up sheet up here. We would welcome your input for your help. Thank you.
Okay, Bruce, I'm going to give you your 5 minutes of fame.
You promised me more because, let me see.
No.
Just a minute here. Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
You get 5.
First select board, my first town meeting that I came to in years was when I first came on the board, and it was a 5-hour meeting. We are an hour and 40 minutes right now. The last 2 meetings have been 2 hours and 20 to 25 minutes. Why is that happening? Oh, sorry, an hour and 40 minutes, excuse me. 6:30, 7:30. We start at 6:30, right? 7:30, it's 8:19.
6:30.
Oh, 6 o'clock. Doesn't matter, we're still all under 2 hours. Sorry about the. But, all right.
The big hand is on the 10, the little.
Now you know what I'm getting to.
He's using his new gold watch to do that.
This is part of the 5 minutes. Look, first I want to thank you, Guy. I know everybody else thanked you, but personally, for the help that you gave me early on, where I didn't know poops about what had
mouth.
You're going to miss your lunch, but we won't get into that. And this is on the list, and Don and Stan, Mike already touched on it. They worked really hard in the last 2 years to get that money back from the freedom. It was a pain in the you-know-what, and it was hours and days on the road, dealing with people, changes in administrations, and they got it done for you all. So I just wanted to amplify that. Then I have 2 other things I want to speak to you about. We had a survey put out several years ago about what to do with our wonderful church. And I would like to see, oh, sorry. It's on? It was on. Okay, how's that better? Okay. I would like to see.
Just keep it in one
What? Okay, how's that? How's that?
Stand up.
Okay.
Give them the other mic. There's something, there's some cell
something's
phone
not right there.
interfering with something's interfering with your.
Thank you, Mark. Okay,
Yeah, you got something interfering with the mic as well.
So what I would like to see is the advisory committee and other select board get recommendations from you all of what you would like to do with the vestry. That's really important to me because I think that, given the survey and what I've seen in the past, that people want to use the building year-round. So send your questions, email, or whatever way you want to do it, at the town office, or like I said, to the advisory committee, and I'll make sure that we address every one of those questions or suggestions. That's the first thing. The second thing was, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and then I'll be done. And the elephant in the room is what we're going to do with these 2 buildings now that we've lost the daycare. And I just want to propose to you an idea that you can think about. We can't vote on anything tonight, as David has said. But I think we should think very seriously about making this building, which is partially a historic structure, the front part being a 1927 school building that was taken from the other side of town, and make it the town offices, and sell the present town office. Because the proceeds that we get from that town office can do remarkable things for these 2 buildings, and probably have cash left over at the end of it. So I ask you to just think about that for a while. I'm going to bring it up in discussions at the select board, and I think it would be a really good idea that we try to make a determination what we want to do with these 2 buildings, because this building's going to cost us. It's not cheap to run this thing. And if we do it correctly, I think we can financially be in much better straits if we go that approach. So that's it for me.
All right. We're done.
Gary,
I'll make a motion we adjourn the meeting.
I was hoping somebody would do that. Is there a second to that?
That's.
Margie Wellman has seconded the motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning the 2025 town meeting, say aye. Those opposed? We wouldn't listen to you anyways. So, we have adjourned the meeting officially. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this Fact TV presentation. If you would like a digital or DVD copy of the meeting, please contact us by phone or email. Our phone number is 802-463-1613 or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community Television, keeping government honest.